Hello guys, so today we are doing the polynomials, or rather the polynomial functions, I can say. I'm sure from the previous grades we are familiar with the quadratic equations. Of course, quadratic equations are the equations of the highest power degree order of 2, where we were having the general equation of ax squared plus bx then plus the constant c equated to 0. So this was called a quadratic equation because it had the highest power degree order of 2. Now, if you have more than 2 as the highest power degree order, that's what we call a polynomial function. So let me give an example of a polynomial function. Let's say you have x power 3 plus 2x squared minus 3x then plus 4. So this is a polynomial function. Why? Because the highest power degree order here is what? Is 3, and it is more than 2. So it's not only 3, you can have more than 3. You can even have x power 10, x power 5, x power whatever number you can think of, provided that it has more than 2 as the highest power order. That's a polynomial function. A the word poly simply means more than 2. Okay, so in this video we are going to discuss the remainder theorem specifically. So this is the part 1 of the polynomial functions. So the remainder theorem can be used to find the values of the remainders. Okay, so there are 3 methods that we can use for us to find the values of the remainders. Okay, so we are going to discuss all these 3 methods using examples. Hopefully that you are going to get something by the end of this video. So let me begin by the first method. The first method is where you have been given a function and also the remainder. By the way, you are given a polynomial and also a divisor. The main polynomial is called a dividend, whilst the divisor is the function which you are dividing into the polynomial. Okay, let me give an example. When you have x power 3 plus 2x squared plus 4x minus 3, this is called a dividend. Okay, now when you are dividing this polynomial with x plus 1, this is called a divisor. So make sure that you take note of the differences between the two. Okay, so in this case you divide this into this. That's how we go about this one. So there are 3 methods we can divide this given divisor into a dividend. So let me begin with the first one. Let's say you have been given an example. Let's say you have x power 3 minus 2x squared then plus 4x minus 3. This is divided, let's say, by x minus 3. So the first step is solving the given, sorry for this disturbance here. So the first step is by solving the given divisor. So we have been given x minus 3 equals to 0. So we have to solve it by letting this go to the other side. Of course we have that. So in this case then we have our divisor as 3. So we are going to replace where there is x in this function with 3. So let's do that. So let me just wrap this part here. Okay, so remember this is our quadratic equation, so we can also simply represent it like that. So where there is x, we replace with 3. Okay, so whenever there is x with 3, minus 2, where there is x with 3, plus 4, where there is x with 3, then minus 3 there. So let's simplify this now. I'm sure we can easily do that. So in this case then we have our function equals to 3 power 3, it's 27, then minus here 3 raised to power 2 is what? 3 raised to power 2 is 9, then 9 multiplied by 2 here, it's 18, then plus 4 multiplied by 3, it's 12, then minus 3 here. So in this case then our function is going to be, what is 27 minus 18? It's 9. What is 12 minus 3? It's 9. So 9 plus 9 is 18. So in this case our value is 18. So this implies that our remainder of the given function is 18. That's the answer. So you solve the given divisor and you replace the value of the divisor into the dividend. Let's look at another example. Let's say you have 3x power 3 then plus x squared then plus 3x then plus 5. This is divided, let's say, by x plus 1. So in this case we have to solve this divisor here. So x plus 1 equal to 0. So we know it's going to be 0. When this comes to that side, it's going to be negative, and then 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So this is the value that we are going to replace in this dividend here. So let me just wrap this part here. So in this case then, our function is going to be f of the value that we are replacing is negative 1. So we are going to have 3 and then negative 1 power 3 then plus negative 1 squared then plus 3 then negative 1 here then plus 5. So in this case, let's simplify the given expression like we did in the previous example. So we are going to have f of negative 1 equals to negative 1 raised to power 3. So when you have the powers as the odd numbers and the base has a negative value, you will simply write the negative value of that given value of the expression. So in this case, negative 1 power 3 is simply negative 1. So negative 1 multiplied by 3 is negative 3. Then positive, when you have the even number as your power, the value of the base becomes positive. So in this case, negative 1 raised to power 2 is simply positive 1. Then positive multiplied by negative is simply negative. Then 3 multiplied by 1 is 3. And then plus 5 here. So in this case then, we are going to have our value equals to, so negative 3 plus 1, it's negative 2. And then negative 3 plus 5, it's positive 2. So negative 2 plus, let me write negative 2 then plus 2, it's simply what? 0. So in this case, our remainder is equals to 0. So that's how we use that method to find the values of the remainders. Okay, so the second method that we are going to look at is the long division method. As you might be familiar, a long division method is of this form, where you have that. So here you write the divisor and here you write the dividend. So you can be given the polynomial functions and then you have been asked to use the long division method to answer that particular function to find the remainder theorem, or rather the remainder value. So in this case, let's say you have been given x power 3 and then minus 2x squared and then plus 4x minus 3, and then this is divided by the divisor, that is x minus 3. So how can we use the long division to find the remainder of this? So previously we have found the value for this, so let's see if this method can also give the value. So in this case, we have to write this in form of a long division. So where we have our divisor here, that is x minus 3, and then here we have the dividend, that is x power 3 minus 2x squared then plus 4x and then minus 3. So for the sake of space, I will just wrap the top part here and then write what we have on the long division down there up here, because the space is gonna not allow. So we have x minus 3 here, and then we have x power 3 and then minus 2x squared and then plus 4x and then minus 3. So let's wrap this part here, since we have already copied the information that we need. So in this case then, we are going to divide this divisor into the dividend. The main point here is cancelling these values. So how are you going to be doing that? You have to think of the way the values you can right here, so that when you multiply with these, you cancel out these values here. So in this case, since we have x power 3 here, we have to find a way, or rather the value which we can multiply with x here, so that we have also x power 3. We know that x multiplied by x power 2, it's x power 3. So in this case then, here we are going to write x squared, so that x squared multiplied by x here, we are going to have x power 3. Okay, rather let me write that properly. Okay, so x power 3, and then also x squared multiplied by negative 3 here, we are going to have negative 3x squared. So let's subtract this now. So we have that x power 3 minus x power 3, it's 0, and then negative multiplied by negative, it's positive. Then positive 3 minus 2x power 3 here, we are going to have what? Negative x, rather positive, because the bigger number has a positive value. So we are going to have x power 2. So we have to find also another way, which rather the value which we can multiply with x here for us to have x power 2 here. So in this case it's x. So x multiplied by x, it's x squared. Okay, and then x multiplied by negative 3, it's negative 3x. So in this case, since we have the value that has x here, we are going to have to drop this one so that we have 4x here. So in this case, we are going to subtract. So negative multiplied by negative is positive. We know that x squared minus x squared is 0, so we are just going to focus on this part. So in this case then, x negative multiplied by negative, it's positive, and then 4x added to 3x, we are going to have 7x. Again here, we have to find a value we can multiply with x here so that we have 7x. So since we already have the x which is here, we are simply going to multiply with what? With 7. So 7 multiplied by x, it's simply 7x. And then 7 multiplied by negative 3 here, it's negative 21. So in this case then, we are going to drop this constant value here. Of course it's negative 3. And then we are going to subtract. So 7x minus 7x is simply 0. And then a negative here multiplied by negative here, it's simply positive. So we're going to have positive 21, then minus 3. So 21, so we subtract 3, we are going to have what? We are going to have 18. So in this case then, our remainder of this given function is 18. So let's look at the second example so that we understand much better. So let's say you have been given 3x raised to power 3, then added to x squared, then plus 3x, then plus 5. So let's say this is divided by x plus 1. So how can we use the long division for us to find the remainder of this? So in this case then, we are going to write the divisor here, that is x plus 1, and then here in the inside there we are going to have 3x power 3, and then plus x squared, and then plus 3x plus 5. So let me just write it on top here for the sake of space. So in this case we have the long division, okay, of x plus 1, and then we have 3x power 3, and then added to x squared plus 3x, and then plus 5. So in this case then, let me just wrap this. So in this case, we are going to do like we did. So we have to find the value that we can multiply with x so that we have 3x power 3. So since this expression here has 3, it means that even here we are going to add 3. Then since this has x power 3, of course this one will have x power 2. So 3x squared multiplied by x, it's 3x raised to power 3. And then 3x squared multiplied by 1 here, we are simply going to have 3x squared. Okay, then we subtract. So 3x squared power 3 minus 3x power 3 is simply 0. And then negative here multiplied by positive, it's simply negative. So we have negative 3x squared, then plus what? Plus x squared. So negative 3x squared plus x squared, it's simply negative 2x squared. So in this case, since we have negative 2 here, we are going to have negative 2. And then since we are looking for the value that will give us x squared here, it simply implies that we are going to find the value that we are going to multiply with this x here for us to have x squared here, of course, which we know is simply x. So negative 2x multiplied by x here, we are going to have negative 2x here. negative 2x squared, and then negative 2x multiplied by 1, we are going to have negative 2x. So we are going to drop this 3 here so that we have positive 3x here, and then we subtract. We know that negative multiplied by negative, it's simply positive. So in this case, we are going to have negative 2x plus 2x squared. Of course, it's 0. And then negative multiplied by negative, it's simply positive. So we are going to have positive 5x. When we add 3x plus 2x, we are going to have 5x. Okay, and then the last part here we have to do is find the value we can multiply with this x here for us to have 5x. Of course, which we know is simply 5, because 5 multiplied by x, it's simply 5x. So let me just write here for the sake of space. So we already have 5x. This 5x is the one that we have here. Then when we multiply this 5 with this x here, we are going to have 5x. And then when we multiply this 5 here with positive 1 here, we are going to have positive 5. So we are going to drop this 5 as well. So we are going to have 5 here, and then subtract these values. So 5x minus 5x, it's 0, and then 5 minus 5, it's 0. So this is our remainder. So in this case then, our remainder is equals to 0. So after we are done with this, we are going to go into the third method. By the way, these have to be down there, but simply because there is no space there, that's why I had to write them this side. Okay, so let's look at the last method, which is the synthetic method. So a synthetic method is where you write the coefficients of the values given and then use it to find the values of the remainders. So in this case, let's say we have x power 3 minus 2x squared and then added to 4x minus 3. Okay, this is 4x minus 3. Let's say the remainder is x minus 3. So using the synthetic method, all you have to do is solve the divisor. So we know that x minus 3 equals to 0. We will have x equals to 3. So in this case, our divisor is 3. You write it there. And then you write the coefficients of these x values. So here it simply means we have 1. And here we have what? Negative 2. Here we have what? Positive 4. And here we have what? Negative 3. And then when you are just beginning to write the values, you simply drop this here down there. So we are just going to have 1 here. Then you multiply this with the value that you have there. So 3 multiplied by 1, it's simply 3. And then negative 2 plus 3, it's simply 1. Then 3 multiplied by 1 here, we are going to have 3. And then 4 plus 3, we are going to have what? 7. And then 3 multiplied by 7, we are going to have what? 21. And then negative 3 plus 21, it's 18. So this is our remainder. The value that is last here is the remainder. So in this case then, the remainder is what? Is 18. So this is the answer. So let's look at one more last example. That is 3x power 3 plus x squared plus 3x plus 5. And then the divisor is x plus 1. So in this case then we have to solve this given divisor, which is x plus 1 equating to 0. So when we take positive 1 to the other side, you are going to have negative 1. So negative 1 will be here. So then we add the coefficients. So we have 3 here, we have 1, and then we have 3, we have 5 here. So in this case, we have to drop this down here. We have 3, and then negative 1 multiplied by 3, it's negative 3. And then 1 added to negative 3, it's negative 2. Then negative 1 here multiplied by this 2 here, negative 2, it's positive what? It's positive 2. So we have 2 there. And then 3 added to 2, we are going to have what? We're going to have 5. Then negative 1 here multiplied by 5, it's negative 5. Then 5 subtract 5, it's 0. So this is our remainder. Remember, the value that is last here is the remainder. So our remainder in this case is equals to 0. So that's the answer for this expression using the synthetic method. I'm sure by now you know how to use the functions to find the remainder, the long division, and also the synthetic method. Thanks once again guys for staying this far. please like, subscribe, share, and turn on the notification button so that you are updated whenever I upload a new video. Stay blessed.